So we've just completed our second annual look at Enterprise Class Cybersecurity vendors, and we'll be talking a lot about that research in the days and weeks to come. But one of the points that we raised here, Doug, was about cybersecurity technology platforms.
Right.
And the thought is buying more products from fewer vendors and having tight integration in those platforms. So we've been covering that for a number of years.
It's a really front and center topic. I mean, as an organization's attack surface expands, there's a tendency to go point tools for those different discrete areas, those sort of control points of endpoint, network, cloud. We know it's operationally untenable over time, so there's a natural sort of evolution to converge to platforms.
So Doug, the first thing we looked at was, are vendors communicating a clear definition of platforms? Mm-hmm. The biggest percentage, 38%, said one or more cybersecurity vendors have provided a general definition of their cybersecurity platform, but more specifics would be helpful. And 36% said one or more cybersecurity vendors have conveyed a clear definition of their cybersecurity platform, which we understand and with which we agree. So Doug, 38% are totally confused.
Yeah.
Right? They're getting different definitions. They're not clear on what the definition is. 36% say, well, we're clear, but they're getting clear definitions from multiple vendors. So there's probably distinctions in what the vendors are saying, what products are included, you know, what support they give them. So
Sure.
What do you think?
Well, I imagine customers are then being a little introspective and saying, well, how do I think of a cybersecurity platform? What does a cybersecurity platform mean to me and my organization? And so similarly, we then ask the respondents, which of the following most closely aligns with your definition of a cybersecurity platform? The leading definition was a cybersecurity platform as an integrated product suite from a single vendor that also provides APIs for integration of third-party technologies. I think it's an awfully good definition, but only 41% of the respondents cited that definition of a cybersecurity platform as one that they identify with.
So that does speak to the confusion in the market, and no one's really communicating a clear definition.
No question. And since we've been chatting about this for the last year or two, I know our sort of perspective and definition has evolved as well.
Yes.
And so, for example, one of the things we changed from this year's study from last year's study is how we think about coverage across the attack surface area with respect to attack vectors. Mm-hmm. So not just covering endpoint to network to cloud, but how are the threats coming in?
That's right. In fact, I said no one's communicating a clear definition of a platform except us. So when we got together and thought about this, we came up with 8 things that we believe are important in a cybersecurity platform. And then we asked which of these 8 is most important. And you're right, Doug. Coverage across the common threat vectors like web and email came out number 1.
Absolutely. As well as just coverage across the attack surface, sort of the control points of endpoint, network, and cloud. So coverage for greater efficacy.
That's right.
And then this notion of flexibility. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we've been tracking for a couple of years now is security as a service or cloud delivered security. And I think customers are understanding that there's more than just an operational benefit, not having maintained on-prem management servers, mm-hmm. but also the ability to do threat intel sharing, dynamic analysis in the cloud, and so forth. But some organizations still want on-prem deployments. This notion of flexibility was one of the things that came through as a requirement as well.
That's right. So my takeaway was efficacy is most important. So efficacy across threat vectors, efficacy from endpoint to network to data center to cloud, and then prevention, detection, and response. I want a single package there. This is an immature market though. So some of the things we think about long-term, like openness, really important to us. A little bit down the list. Things like the form factor deployment. So do I want on-prem versus cloud? A little bit down the list. And then services. We believe a platform has to include services because you can't do everything.
Right.
And people are thinking of that down the line. Now I think all of those things come into play, but right now people are thinking, how do I replace these point tools with a technology platform?
You bet. But I don't think we're implying that there's going to be an uber cybersecurity platform provided from a single vendor.
No.
Because one of the things we heard again, just going back to our recent discussion around Black Hat and the CISO Summit, is the ongoing need for best-of-breed point tools to thwart motivated adversaries with new attack vectors and methods, So what I'm hearing is they want best of both worlds. They do want convergence on a platform, but they want to be able to snap in the emerging best-of-breed technology into that platform as well.
Yeah, and that supports kind of traditional cybersecurity culture, which is best-of-breed, layered defense in depth architecture. But that's a good model, but it's hard to operate. So if with integration and openness, you can get both.
You bet, you bet. So more to come, right? We'll be doing some research briefs, maybe another video, some webinars.
Hopefully another video.
Another video.
Yeah.
Yeah, always good fun.
Okay, so stay tuned.